Everyone hits a bump in the road. What do you do with it? Be inspired as we explore the ways people experience, navigate, and manage the ups and downs and twists and turns in this road trip called life. Welcome to another episode of Bump in the Road. The basic podcast is always free. We also have a premium subscription called Bump 2 that lets you listen in on extended behind-the-scenes conversations with our guests. Check it out at www.bumpintheroad.us. Dave Bjork is a Wharton grad who is happily working on a banking career. He was healthy, young, and fit. Then, out of the blue, at 34 years old, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. That experience sent his life off on a totally different tangent. Today, he's passionate about helping people with lung cancer and removing the unfair stigma that goes with it. You must have smoked, people say, but that's not necessarily true. Removing the social stigma and supporting research are important to Dave. His podcast, Research Evangelist, celebrates lung cancer researchers. As Dave says, his guests are brilliant, if not famous. So is his podcast. Dave, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, give us a little bit of background.
Hey, Pat. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Dave Bjork, and I'm a lung cancer survivor, patient advocate, and I have a podcast called Research Evangelist. And I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to make a difference in the world by being an advocate for patients and helping change the stigma around lung cancer, that anybody can get lung cancer. Like me, I was a non-smoker, so not that anybody who did have a smoking history deserves to get cancer. We're all in this together, but appreciate hanging out with you, Pat. It's good to see you today.
Well, when you got cancer when you were like 30 years old, a few years ago now, you had a young family. That had to be a total shock.
Yeah. I was just thinking about it the other day, actually. I was like 34 years old. I was a non-smoker, and I was healthy. I played basketball at the Y all the time down in Woburn. And, I got pneumonia. And, it's weird when I think back on it, Pat, it's like, it's no offense to my primary care physician, but damn, it's like you shouldn't get pneumonia when you're a young guy and you're healthy. And his response to me was, well, you have young kids and, they're exposed to germs and, but I was like, yeah, but pneumonia, seriously, you know what I mean? So, I think it's a message, that's important for people that, when you get lung cancer, it tends to happen when you're in an advanced stage. And so when you have these signals like I had, it really should spark something, right? It should really set off a red flag that, well, you shouldn't get pneumonia as a 34-year-old non-smoker who's healthy, So yeah, it changed my life for sure.
How did it change your life?
Well, at the time I was working at the Bank of Ireland. I was working in investment services, and it made me I guess the way that I describe it, and many other people who have had a cancer experience know what it's like when you get the phone call from your doctor that says, Dave, you have cancer and you need to come see me. It changes everything. It kind of stops. Everything stops. Like everything, your life stops. You're like, holy moly, like what the heck, And so that's how it changed my life. It changed how I look at my kids, how I look at my wife, how I look at relationships, how I look at my friends. It just made me want to be a better person because it realized that, oh my gosh, life is precious, So that's kind of how it changed, and it was oh man, it was a really tough experience that I went through, but yeah, I think that's mainly how it how it changed my life. It just kind of changes how you want to interact with the universe and with people that are important in your life.
And I think there's a sense that time is precious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It made me think of like, do I have enough insurance? Do I have? I know it just literally made me just. You stop and you're just like, holy moly! Like I said, it's like, have I prepared for life? It just made me realize that life is short, and so why not like be a better person and just be a good human? It's crazy, but I don't know if that makes sense, Pat. But I think you've been through this experience too, so you know.
No, it rearranges everything. And I think it makes you realize that you need to dig deep, figure out who you are, and be that person. And it's not instantaneous. But I know for me at least, I think I was very oriented towards pleasing other people around me rather than maybe being truer to myself. And over the years, I have found that being true to myself is everything.
Yeah, I think it is being true to yourself, but I agree with you. I think I was the same way. I think I was more about like being nicer to other people, and that really, I think, helped me through the experience, was to appreciate the people who, and maybe with you too, people who stepped up during that period of time, who raised their hand and said, I'm your friend. I want to help you, So, but I think being true to yourself is a good point. I think as I've gotten older, I've tried to be better at, appreciating that part of my life as well.
Well, cancer set your professional life off on a different tangent, didn't it?
It did. Yeah. Like I said, I was working in investment services. I was, I went to Wharton, and and you also have a connection to Penn. So, but I was not involved with healthcare. And so, yeah, it changed my trajectory of my career. I said, I want to help cancer patients, with education. And so I went into medical marketing and publishing, so yeah, it totally, I couldn't have predicted it, right? Because where my career was going was not anything to do with cancer or to healthcare. So it changed everything.
Tell me a little bit about the White Ribbon Project and how you're involved in it.
Oh boy. The White Ribbon Project, I came across this in November of last year, November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month, but it caught my attention because a friend of mine, Chris Draft, had made me aware of it, and it was a real grassroots movement. It was a woman who, Heidi Onda, who lives in Denver, and she stage 3 lung cancer. She really wanted to raise awareness, and nobody would pay attention to her. So she said, I wish I could just put a ribbon on my front door, and so people could know that I have lung cancer. And so her husband is a primary care doctor. He was at Kaiser Permanente, and so he said, I'll make you a ribbon. Like, I can't treat you, but I can at least make you a ribbon. So he went to Home Depot, and he got some plywood, and he literally made a ribbon out of wood, and he painted it and put a sticker on it, and she put it on the front door and shared it with her friends on social media, and people started saying, hey, can you get me a ribbon? Could Pierre make me a ribbon? And it just literally, Pat, it literally captured my attention and imagination, because I was like, oh, it's like the Humans of New York. It's like here people can like stand up and show that you have lung cancer. There's no stigma. There's no shame. There's nothing. It's okay. And it's like we follow the path of like the HIV and breast cancer communities who have done such an amazing job of advocating. And so it's like this, it just caught me. And so I've been involved, and we started a nonprofit, and I'm on the board, and I'm just super proud to be part of it. So it's really cool.
Now, is the focus of the group advocacy? Is it human connection? What does it want to do?
The mission really is to raise awareness that anybody with lungs can get lung cancer. And we want to change the public perception of lung cancer, right? So I think for a long time, lung cancer has been this like dirty disease, where whether you smoked or you didn't, it has been framed that it's different than other cancers. And I don't believe personally that it should be looked at as different, right? And so what we're trying to do is it's unbranded. It's not, none of us are, we're all volunteers. We're just trying to say that if you have lung cancer, you are loved, right? We make these ribbons out of wood. We make them with love. We deliver them with love, and they are received by love, with love. And so it's the most grassroots thing that I have ever been involved with, right? And so our mission really is really just to embrace people, whether you are a patient, you're an advocate, you're a caregiver, you're a clinician, you're a social worker, you're whatever. We're all in this together, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay, right? So
the stigma around lung cancer is terrible. I was looking up some numbers before we got on, and more than half of people with lung cancer will die within a year of being diagnosed. And lung cancer is the number one cancer killer of both men and women, and it is least funded of all the cancers. That's stunning.
Yeah, and I as a research evangelist, I'm always like very, very cognizant and aware that we're all in this together, right? Research funding is important, but I think what's sometimes missed is that the fact that lung cancer is by far the biggest killer. I mean, by far. It's like the next 4 cancers combined. It's like it's insane when you think about it. And so, yeah, I think there's an inherent stigma that, okay, people who get lung cancer deserve it, right? You smoked, right? But we don't do that with other cancers. Why do we do that? Like, if you got colon cancer, does anybody say, "Oh, well, did you eat a lot of red meat?"
Yeah.
But literally, when I was diagnosed with cancer, everybody just said, "Dave, oh, you're a smoker?" Like, why? Why do people ask that question? And so, to your point, yes, it is the number one killer. And unfortunately, 20% of people, roughly, who are going to be diagnosed with lung cancer this year never smoked. Okay? So do the math. If 160,000 people die every year from lung cancer, 20% is like 30,000 people. Okay? So do the math. So how come it's not a priority? Why is this not a pandemic sort of emergency that we should be talking about this, right? And even if you did smoke, honestly, seriously, even if you did smoke, it's been proven by the two what was it, 200, what's the number, $2 billion settlement?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. So it's not even up for debate that the tobacco companies were liable for getting people to smoke. Okay? So whether you smoked or you didn't smoke, it shouldn't matter. But to your point, Pat, that why is not lung cancer like a research emergency? Why are you not, like I never smoked, so, right?
A lot of people don't, and radon is another cause of lung cancer, and we have radon in pockets all over this country.
Yeah, and my mother was a smoker, so was secondhand smoke part of that? I remember driving in the car with my mom all the time when she was a very heavy smoker. So yeah, there's other causes, potential causes of lung cancer, and sometimes it's genetic, and so I just feel like there are people who do care about this, Pat. There are a lot of really amazing people who I've spoken with and have had on my podcast, who are really passionate about advancing the lung cancer cause. But I do feel like the general public I think that goes back to the White Ribbon Project, is that we're just trying to change this public perception that it's a disease that's different, and you caused it because of your own behavior. And I feel like other cancers don't have that stigma attached to it, and I just wish we could remove that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think cancer in general has a stigma, and the stigma goes beyond social. It goes to the fact that people hear the C word, they're terrified, and they project their fear on you in one way or another. And often it's they want to stay away, they don't want to know. That's where you find some friends dropping off and other ones stepping up to the plate. I think cancer in general is just a terrifying topic, and people want to avoid it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we all have those own experiences where you bring up the C word, right? And it's like
you get out the garlic and the Silver Cross and everything.
Isn't that true?
Well, I've tried it.
Some people just don't want to. They just don't want to talk about it, right? But
it touches all of us.
It's a reality for all of us, right? We've all been touched by cancer and at some point, with our family or our friends. So yeah, I I think it's funny that as I'm shaking my head thinking back to when I was diagnosed, Pat, and how people responded to me, which I know is important to you as well. Just this sort of emotional experience of the cancer journey, and how some people responded like, I want to help you, and some people just like bolted. By the way, Pat, I want to tell you, like, my parents and my brothers bolted on me. And so I think that's, kind of, as we talk about the emotional journey of going through cancer, that there's a lot of reality that happens, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the reality isn't always very pretty. But I like to look at the flip side of it. I mean, I think the cancer experience is very difficult on a lot of levels. But I think there are upsides. I think you find individual strength. I think you find something greater than yourself. What are some of the lessons that came out of it for you?
I think that probably the biggest thing was kind of understanding my personal strength. I didn't none of us asked for the cancer experience, but I remember after my lobectomy, I had a half my left lung removed, and I remember sitting in bed when I got home after a week in the hospital, which again was a very difficult experience. But what I learned is that the positive was like I just took on the challenge, right? I took on this like, okay, here I am. So here I sit, here I sit in a very difficult circumstance, and how am I going to get through this next week, next day, next minute, next second? And I learned how to kind of process, like, how do I break things down into like very small segments. Like, okay, I can't get through Saturday until I get through Thursday, till I get through Tuesday, till I get to this afternoon, till I get to the next 5 minutes. So I'm sorry if that's boring, but the point is it's like I learned, the positive that I learned from this was like, okay, I am going to like put on this game face and just deal with this, and I think it's helped me in other ways. It's right, Pat. It's helped me not just with dealing with cancer, but dealing with other circumstances where I say, okay, I got to sit down and break it down. And so, I guess that's my way of thinking of how I can take a positive from it, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I think for a lot of us, all the superfluous things fall away. You become very present moment oriented because you start to realize that's all you have, and it may be your biggest challenge. You may just have to get through this moment to get to the next. And when it gets stripped down to something that basic, it's a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, it literally was it. I joke, and I'll age myself because I was watching reruns on cable as I was lying in bed. This is very personal, but of like Mannix and some of those other shows from the 70s. Oh gosh, and but literally thinking of breaking things down by very small moments. It's like I just, people who might be listening who have had a lobectomy will know that it is a very painful experience. And so I was taking Vicodin, and Vicodin was great. It didn't take away all the pain. It helped by far a lot, for sure. But so people can understand that when we talk about, Pat, when we were just talking about like breaking things down into like small moments, it's like if I can just get through 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, that's how I started to look at life. I don't think I ever looked at life that way. Because, right, we think of, it's like Thursday, or it's like, Saturday, we're going to do something else. But you literally have to sit there and, like, because of your experience, because of what you're going through, you literally have to, you have to get through the next 5 minutes. Isn't that, it's crazy, right?
No, it's a shift in time. And, like you, I'm used to setting big goals and just going for them. It was not possible at that point in time. And that's hard to accept. I mean, you have no choice. It's just there in your face. But it's difficult. But then time does move on. And it's interesting the different paths we all take. I mean, you just started a podcast, Research Evangelist.
Yeah. So last year I had been writing a blog, the Cancer Research Evangelist, since 2014, and I realized that, and so people can't see me, but you see I use my hands a lot, and I and very expressive. And so I thought, you know what? I want to do a podcast. I want to start sharing with the universe these people that I've encountered in my cancer journey, which are people in life sciences who are, I call brilliant but not famous. And primarily they're researchers and clinicians. So they're either PhDs, MDs, Masters of Public Health, whatever, doing research, or they're treating patients. And I had met all these people over 6 or 7 years, and I was like, the people should people should know these people, because they're amazing people. They're talented. They're committed. And so I started with Dr. Brennan Stiles, who's a thoracic surgeon in New York City, who's brilliant but not famous, but he should be famous. Anyway, the joke, Pat, is that they're all famous in the sense that they're all well known and respected, but my next door neighbor would never know who Brennan Stiles is. And so that's kind of the backdrop of, I want people to know that there are amazing human beings who are doing cancer research or taking care of cancer patients, who are just amazing people. And those are the people that I interview. So it's been, it's everyone from Michael Caligiuri, who is the president of the City of Hope in California, to Justin Gaynor, who is the head of thoracic oncology at Mass General Hospital, to Portia Thomas, who's a medical student at Meharry College in Tennessee. There's a lot of amazing people out there doing great work and supporting the cancer community.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found something in today's podcast that inspires you along your own life's path, because sometimes a bump in the road is actually a portal into a more conscious and meaningful life. You can subscribe to our free podcast at www.bumpintheroad.us or become a premium member to hear the full conversation. Just go to www.bumpintheroad.us for more information and to sign up.